Good morning, children. This is Savita, your English teacher is here. We are going to start our supplementary books, lesson 2, The Thief's Story. Let's study this. The main characters of the story is Anil, who is a writer, Hari Singh, who's the narrator. Okay, so these two basic characters you will study about in this story. Narrator is Hari Singh. Let's see something about Hari Singh. Hari Singh was a thief. He was of 15 years old, an experienced thief. This was the habit of Hari Singh. Whenever he used to do stealing or robbery, in the very next robbery, he used to change his name for not being caught by the police. This story is also one of the instances of his life. Hari Singh has mentioned that once upon a time he had made Anil his target for doing robbery. Let's see what will happen and what impact of Anil's good character will fall on Hari Singh. Let's start the story. I was still a thief when I met Anil. Who's I over here, students? I is Hari Singh, the narrator and the thief. Hari Singh was only 15 years old. I was an experienced and fairly successful hand. Hari Singh said that I was very experienced thief. And in next paragraph you can see here characteristics or features of Anil is written over here, as when you need to write in the character, that will be helpful to you. Anil was watching a wrestling match. Here if I ask you where Hari Singh met with Anil first time, so answer is at a wrestling match. What was the age of Anil? That was 25 years old. And what was the age of Hari Singh? That is 15 years old. Let's see what will happen. So when Hari Singh approached Anil at a wrestling match, he started conversation. He said that you look a bit of wrestler yourself. I said, means Hari said, a bit flattery, means buttering, helps in making friends. So you do. This dialogue is spoken by Hari Singh and this one by Anil. So he also told that you also look like a wrestler. Anil replied, which put me off for a moment because that time I was rather thin. Who's thin? That is Hari Singh. Well, I said modestly, I do wrestle a bit. What's your name? Anil asked. Okay, what's your name? Then this man replied, Hari Singh. I lied. Lied means not telling the truth. I took a new name every month. That kept me ahead of the police and my former employers. Employer, he meant to say the people who were being robbed by Hari Singh earlier. After this introduction, Hari talked about something about well-oiled wrestlers and wrestling match. After that, he followed, or Anil walked away and Hari Singh followed him. I gave him my most appealing smile and said hello again. I want to work for you. I said, but I can't pay you. This dialogue is spoken by Hari Singh. He said, I want to work with you. But Anil said, I can't pay you. Okay. I thought that over for a minute. Perhaps I had misjudged my man. The meaning of this is, perhaps for some minutes he had thought that I have misjudged my next employer, or the person I wanted to rob cannot even give me money. So here that thief got in dilemma. He said, can you feed me? Then Anil said, okay, can you cook? This line is spoken by Hari Singh and this by Anil. He said, I can cook. Hari Singh lied again. He had lied again. Then Anil said, if you can cook, then I can feed you. He took me to his room over the Jamna sweet shop and told me I could sleep on the balcony. Here see, Anil had taken Hari Singh in his room, which was above or on the Jamna sweet shop. If you will be asked where Hari Singh used to live, you can write with Anil here, meant to say Anil's house was at Jamna sweet shop. He took Hari Singh along with him and he had asked him to sleep at the balcony. But on that night, the meal cooked by Hari Singh was terrible, meant to say very bad food Hari Singh had cooked. Remember, he did not know how to cook, but he had lied. So Anil gave that food to the stray dogs. So what the Anil did with the food made by Hari Singh? He had given that food to the stray dogs, means to say street dogs, and told me to be off. But I just hung around, mean to say I was staying in front of the Anil and smiling with by most appealing way, and he couldn't help laughing. At last means Anil laughed. Later Anil patted me on my head and said never mind, he would teach me how to cook food. Anil also taught me how to write my name, and he had told me he would also teach me to write whole sentences. Previously Hari Singh was illiterate person, mean to say he could not know how to write or read. So his friend Anil was very good natured person. He had assured him he would teach him how to read and write. It was quite pleasant working for Anil. In this paragraph, you will get to know what works Hari Singh used to do for Anil. He made the tea in the morning. While answering, you will say he had made, okay, tea. Then would take my time buying in the day supplies, usually making a rupee profit also. I think he knew made a little money this way, but he did not mind. It meant to say three works Hari Singh used to do. One, morning tea. Second, purchasing daily supplies from the market. Two works, okay. Then it is written over here daily, the money which was being given by Anil to Hari Singh for the market, okay. So rupee 1 he used to save and keep it in his pocket and never told to Anil. But Anil knew everything, but he had never said anything to him. Anil made money by fits and starts. Students, in this paragraph you will get to know the work which was being done by Anil. Anil made money by fits and starts, mean to say he used to write for the publishers. He would borrow 1 week and next week he kept worry about his next check, but as soon as it arrived he would go out and celebrate. Children, here one habit of Anil you will get to know, as when he happens to get money he used to go out with his friend and celebrate. Mean to say he had never kept the money for safety or for future. He used to spend all his money in purchasing household material, grocery things, and celebrate. It seems he wrote for magazines. If you need to write about his work, he used to write for magazines, a queer way to make a living. Then one evening he came home with a small bundle of notes, saying he had just sold a book to a publisher. Children, main story begins from here. One evening what happened? Anil came home with a bundle of notes and he had informed to the Hari Singh he had just sold a book to the publisher and he had got the money. After that what happened? Look, at night I saw him tuck the money under his mattress. Here students, Hari Singh was a thief, remember? Hari Singh said, I saw Anil that he had kept the money under his mattress. So that was really a good chance for Hari Singh to steal the money. This was the only reason he was with Anil, remember? Let's see. I had been working for Anil for almost a month, and apart from cheating on the shopping, had not done anything in my line of work. I had every opportunity of doing so. Anil had given me a separate key or an extra key of the door by which I could go and come as per my choice. Whenever I be happy or as per my wish, I could go. He was the most trusting person I had ever met. Here Hari Singh is saying that since he had met many people, but only Anil had trusted him so much, and that is why it was so difficult to rob him. Here Hari Singh had admitted that it was so difficult to do stealing in the Anil's house because Anil had trusted Hari Singh. It's easy to rob a greedy man because he can afford to be robbed, but it is difficult to rob a careless man. Sometimes he does not even notice he had been robbed. That takes all the pleasure out of the work. Well, it's time I did some real work. I told myself I am out of practice, and if I don't take money, he will only waste it on his friends. After all, he does not even pay me. The meaning of this paragraph is over here. According to the Hari Singh, three kind of people are there. As you can see, this second question is written over here. What does he say about the different reactions of the people when they are robbed? So this answer can be taken from this paragraph. As per the Hari Singh's knowledge or thinking, greedy man, to rob greedy man, it's easy because he can afford or he can make up his loss. Second thinking of Hari Singh, was it difficult to rob a careless man, because careless man sometimes don't notice whether he was robbed or not, so it takes all pleasure. Third, it's so difficult to rob. Next, third point will be ahead in the lesson, you will get to know about it. Anil was asleep. So here children, we have successfully ended our part 1. These questions you will do.